It's Matt Dubio filling in for Alex Jones in the fourth hour. In a few seconds, we're going to start. I'm going to play you my conversation with Adam Carolla. And we talk about the incoming or the, what do they say? Like everyone is saying, not everyone, people on the internet are saying that tomorrow, September 23rd, is the end. It's the tribulation. And Adam and I are going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about how he handles snowflakes and insulates himself from the Hollywood crowd that wants to essentially steal your income if you make a statement against something they believe in. I'm smoking this cigar here, and there's a meme on the internet with Hillary Clinton on top of a big cigar, and I didn't really understand what it was. They said something about it being like an elf on a shelf, and I didn't get it at first. And then when I heard the word blunt, I got it. Anyway, I got some copies of Hillary's America that Dinesh D'Souza gave me, and I've got at least 5 copies. I'm going to just give them away randomly to some of my Twitter followers. I'm not a big Twitter guy. I don't tweet a lot, but I thought it would be fun. I've watched this movie, so if you want a copy of the movie, I'm just going to give 5 copies of this randomly to people on my Twitter feed because it would be fun. And I want more people to see this movie. Dinesh did a really great job on this. And he sent me a bunch of these a while back to give away. And we promoted the movie, and I would love to give you a copy. So I'm pretty excited for you to hear what Adam Carolla shares with us in this talk. It's, well, I'll let you hear it in your own words. And he's going to really talk about fighting against the Hollywood sort of liberal vibe. And he's on the phone. Is he on the phone? Let's take a call from Adam now.
Hello, Adam.
Yes.
Good day to you, sir.
Good day. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You're coming back to Chicago. This is exciting. Do you know on September 23rd, the litany of catastrophic events that are being predicted around the world? Have you heard this?
No, what's being predicted? What's being predicted?
Well, for me to explain it, I'm not the fire and brimstone guy, but you know, there was the eclipse, and a lot of these guys on YouTube are saying that there's a culmination of cosmic events that all point to September 23rd and the beginning of the tribulation. Are you involved in that? Is that what you're bringing to the Shy here?
Yeah, I was going to kick off the tribulation. I was going to announce it on stage, but if you're going to tell your audience about it beforehand, then I guess I have no choice but to announce it now. Yeah, I'm gonna do the ribbon cutting ceremony on the tribulation.
I want to share with people though what it is they can expect when they go to see you at the Park West on September 23rd, because it's not your traditional stand-up and it's not what you've done in the past. Is that right?
That is correct. It is a one-man show. It happened that I sort of realized that more than telling jokes and more than telling stories, I sort of like the inspirational stuff and the motivational stuff. As I get older, I just morphed into someone who really enjoyed motivation. And I realized my motivational stories can be really funny, but they can also be sort of motivational. So you can get some, I think with a lot of stand-up, if you're going to just get up there and prattle off jokes, it's going to be kind of empty calories. Not that that's not a good thing, having a night out, having a laugh. But my feeling is I think I can do jokes and funny stories and get a lot of laughs and kind of motivate, because my whole story is pretty incredible in terms of where I started and where I am, where I got to be.
It really is. And I'm a little surprised to hear you say that you're into the motivation and you see yourself that way, because over the years and having talked to you, I find you tremendously funny, but I find you very inspiring. And it's I love how you just do stuff and you don't obsess about how to do it the right way necessarily. Not that you don't care about how to do it, but you just go forward and do it and then kind of figure it out. And it seems to be working amazingly well for you.
Well, the more I'll make a metaphor here, which is I have a lot of old vintage race cars, and sorry, I'm taking my dog for a walk, and I got like Bobcat in reverse making noise, and guy with a chipping hammer to my right. There's a lot of construction going on in my neighborhood. So when I race vintage cars, I race a lot of different styles and types and makes of cars. And I would be much better if I just drove one car and got really comfortable in one car and drove the one car, because that's kind of what it takes.
Yeah.
But I almost never do that. I drive almost a new car, a different car every race. But ultimately what it does is it makes you comfortable in all the cars you drive. Not necessarily the fastest, but pretty fast, pretty quick, because your acclimation period is really fast because you're so used to driving so many different cars with different gear patterns and shift patterns, horsepower, blah, blah, blah. So if you take that approach to life and possibly marriage, I think you can get a lot done.
I think that's really that's a great point, because there are those guys that say, just focus on the one thing, just focus on the one thing, focus on the one thing. I guess the argument could be made that you do focus on one thing, and that is being you, and you have different vehicles to do it. But and you mentioned marriage. How long would you put yourself up there as a not a perfect husband, but would you say that's a success of yours beyond your success that everyone else sees?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't really think about it that much, but I guess, as they say in this town, coming on 15 years of marriage, not too shabby. I like to sort of think of myself as a good dad and a good husband, a good provider, and a decent guy. Like I really just look at myself as fair in a weird, unromantic way. Like I'm not spontaneous, I'm not sexy, I'm not romantic, but I'm very even, and I'm very yeah, chicks, you getting moist. Yeah. You got a guy over here who's very fair-minded. And I just try to go through life sort of in the middle there. Just treat everyone the same, be kind of fair. Also means be fair to yourself. Just don't expect too much, but don't demand too much. It's just sort of reality on reality's terms, as Dr. Drew likes to say.
You're out in Hollywood, California. I mean, maybe not Hollywood proper, but you're on the West Coast. You've sort of developed into what some would say a conservative voice, even though you may not say that, and I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'm wondering, aside from your media company and the things that you create on your own, are you seeing, like a Tim Allen and others have said, are you seeing any sort of backlash or any justification for you not getting work or based on your ideals or your other projects, like speaking in front of Congress and things like that?
It's weird. So in Hollywood, there doesn't really need to be a backlash. Your phone can just never ring. Which I guess you can call sort of a de facto backlash, but nobody ever calls you and says, hey, we're thinking about you for this project, but since we heard you speak in front of Congress about personal responsibility, now we're out. So you never know, the same way you don't really know if your wife is slowly poisoning you every day with your breakfast cereal until you die. It's like you don't really know. Maybe you don't feel as good as you used to, but you don't really know. The way this town works is it's incredibly liberal, and they will decide who's with them and who is not with them. So if the things I say, legalize marijuana, gay marriage, what have you, consensual crime, they can still call me conservative. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what I label myself. It's just they'll decide what you are. So, and they have decided that anybody who essentially crosses any of their tenets is conservative, even if, in fact, you don't meet the criteria of being conservative. So first things first, they decide. Second thing second, they talk about being inclusive nonstop. But if you're Tim Allen, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way it works. They talk about inclusivity, and they talk about not judging. All they do is judge. Now, they don't judge if you're transgendered, but if you believe in God, they judge. That's the way they work, which makes them hypocrites, obviously. The good news for me is I don't rely on them because I have my own business.
Right.
So I never really have. So I don't go on auditions. I don't submit spec scripts. I don't wait for the phone to ring. I don't talk to my agent. I don't do anything that normal people do, normal people who work in this business do. I go to work every day. I do a podcast. I work on documentaries. I think about writing books. I think about, doing one-man shows. I have 1,000 projects that I'm getting started with, and none of them have to do with studios or networks or Matt Damon. It's just I just go do what I do. That's it, which is great for me because I'm impervious to whatever is going on out there in this world called Hollywood, where you can't judge except for all you do is judge all the time. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like I'm probably getting judged for no real good reason. I, take care of my kids, pay my taxes. I don't hurt anybody, and I don't
and you're fair
anybody from anything.
And you're nothing if not
matter.
Fair.
They just decide.
Are you today the guy that you thought you would be back when you were a young guy?
I didn't think I would be anything, so I far exceeded whatever I thought I was going to be because I didn't think about it. I thought about BMX bicycles and football, and that was about it. At some point, I had a notion about getting into comedy, but the notion was really just so I could get paid because I love cars, and it's hard to drive nice cars or race cars. It's a super expensive endeavor. So I had really no thoughts. I also really had no relationship with my dad, so I didn't know what he expected or what he wanted or what he did or who he was, because I didn't have that kind of relationship with my parents. I didn't have any kind of relationship with my parents except for they were just sort of home, and I just would leave and go eat at other people's houses. So I really don't. I really had, because of my sort of bizarre upbringing, which was a non-upbringing, I just sort of wandered around thinking, what's for dinner and what am I going to eat? Like most of my thoughts from 0 to 20 were, where am I going to eat? That was 90% of what I thought. Then later on, I just thought, how do I get out of driving a truck and swinging a hammer for a living? Like I fast forwarded to being 40, and I was like, you don't want to be on a construction site when you're 40. Like, and what if you have kids, and how are you going to take care of them, and how are you going to pay a mortgage? And so that was kind of my next thought. And I never had any thoughts about making millions of dollars in show business. I just had thoughts about doing something other than being on a construction site.
What do you tell your kids about the path for the future? Are you saying go to college? Are you saying, go start a business? What do you tell? I think you have at least a couple of kids, right? What do you impart on them, knowing what you now know about this liberating experience of being in control of your life and your business and all that?
I never really was a fan of college. I was a fan of work. I want their kids to work. I want them to learn. I want them to learn how to work, and I want them not to be scared of work, and I want them to kind of embrace work. And that's what I'd like them to do. So as far as college goes, and especially for whatever's going on college campuses these days, and I can only imagine how bad it's going to be in 7 years when they're ready to go to college, I'd like them to find a passion, find an interest, find something that kind of floats their boat, and then not be scared to work. And that's it. All you need really in this country, all you really need is hard work. People talk about luck. People talk about who you know. People talk about white privilege. People talk about everything under the sun. They're forgetting the part where you have to outwork everybody. And the good news is everyone is lazy and soft right now.
So true.
All you have to do is literally just outwork people that are scared of work, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and you believe that. I mean, I believe it, but you really believe that to your core, right? I mean, if you look around at everybody else.
I don't want to sound like a blowhard. I don't believe it. I know it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're at the Chicago's Park West Theater Saturday, September 23rd, I've heard Seinfeld and others talk about the climate of venues, whether it be college venues or comedy clubs or whatever. Are you experiencing the sort of seepage of this mentality in America where it's super political and super safe spacey, or are you finding that the Carolla fans come out and they know what they're getting and it's good times for everybody?
I'd say the Carolla fans know what they're getting and it's good times, but you can hear the audience if you say something that you may have said a few years ago. You know, you'll hear an audible sort of gasp that you wouldn't have heard a few years ago. You make a gay joke or you make an ethnic joke or something like that. And in the past, all you'd hear is laughter. Now you'd hear a little bit of a, oh, what the, hey, and here comes the helicopter.
AdamCarolla.com. AdamCarolla.com is where you get the tickets, and I'll see you at the Park West. It's always awesome to have you on and talk with you.
We'll say hi after the show.
Awesome.
Or even before.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
One of the things that I love about talking to guys like Adam is you find out things about them and life in general from another person's perspective. And I look at guys like Alex and guys like Adam, even though they're in very different worlds, as being very similar. These are people that have created their own way, and they didn't do it alone. They got lots of people. You know, there's lots of people at InfoWars that help keep Alex on the air. There's lots of people at Adam Carolla's Ace production studios that help him keep it going. But they've taken the bull by the horns, and they've just worked and worked and worked. And what we find out when we talk to guys like that is we all have so much in common. And what the world seems to be doing today more than ever is demonizing men like that, demonizing leaders that are strong, that are intelligent, that are fair, and that maybe sometimes have differing opinions. And so it's a privilege to be on this platform and sharing some of that with you, because I hope that you listening to this can find a way to do that. Because if you work for somebody, you may not be able to tweet that you feel a certain way. Freedom of speech doesn't forgive you from the consequences of that freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is something that we have in this country without government prosecution, but the people can prosecute you and persecute you. And so how do you avoid that? We'll kind of share some ideas on that. And how do you prepare for the worst, whether it's your income, whether it's your livelihood, whether it's your home life? We're going to talk more about that. It's Matt Dubio filling in for Alex Jones on Infowars.com.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.